Fall is just around the corner, and if you like to be prepared and plan like me, it's time to start getting some ideas now. I put a compilation video of all my favorite fall crafts from last year with full instructions. And I like doing this every season to not only get you inspired, but also myself.
I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now.
I picked up 6 4x6 frames, and in this specific frame because I like that little detail on the frame. I'm gonna leave the frames as is and I'm not gonna paint them. Now after removing everything, I am going to remove the hardware with just some stem cutters that I have. I actually got this idea from Jessica on Measure and Mix. After removing the hardware, I'm gonna glue the glass frames on there. I don't want the little hardware pieces to show through the glass. I'm gonna hot glue 3 frames together at the bottom, and then I'll hot glue the other 3 at the top. As you can see, the top row of the 3 frames are facing vertical, but I'm not gonna glue them that way. I was just trying to see which way I wanted to do it. Now I'm gonna use these giant craft sticks. I'm gonna use 8 of them. I'm gonna cut the ends off with my scissors, and then I'm gonna stain them with the same antique wax. We're gonna use those craft sticks to connect it all together. So I'm gonna add 4 on this side and 4 on the other side. Now, both sides are done. What you could do is use frames instead of craft sticks, and you can also use frames at the bottom too. But what I'm gonna do is use a foam board from Dollar Tree for the bottom. So I'm just going to place the flower box on top, mark it with a pin, and then use my box cutter to cut that out. It's easier than using scissors. Okay, so now the flower box is ready. I'm gonna use these leaves from Dollar Tree. So I have about 4 of them. 3 of them look like this, and I didn't really like the colors on them, but I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do to them so I can get the color I want. And this is the 4th one that I have. I grabbed these cattails from Dollar Tree. Alright, so these next flowers are actually from the Giant dollar store. I think that's what it's called. These are really pretty. I think the quality is really nice for only $1.09 for each of them. So I only paid $4 because I picked up 4 of them. I really like them. I think they're so pretty. I wanted like a creamy white color. I didn't like the color of those 3 garlands from Dollar Tree, so I'm gonna take them outside and spray paint them brown. Now I'm not completely covering them with brown. I want the other colors to kind of come through a little bit. While those leaves are outside and drying, I'm taking 2 styrofoam pumpkins from Dollar Tree, and you probably guessed it, I'm gonna paint them white for a good base coat, and then I'm gonna use that antique wax over them because I want them to look kind of wooden and antique-ish and old. How pretty my leaves turned out. I really like how you can still kind of see some of those colors coming through. I didn't completely cover them. I'm gonna decorate it. So I am using some floral foam from Dollar Tree, and it comes already cut in 4 pieces. I'm going to be adding my leaves and flowers in there, and you'll see me move things around a lot in there just to get it to look how I want it, and I'll be just playing around with it until I like the way it looks. Sure that the bottom part looks good as well because you can see it through the glass. Also, you'll notice after this clip that I do remove the orange leaves because they just didn't go that good to me. I really just wanted the dark brown and creamy colors to show. I pretty much love the way it looks already, but what I wanted to do was add these little Dollar Tree pumpkins. They came in a 3-pack on here, so I'm just gonna set them in there. Here it is, all done. Now there are so many different ways to do this. You can go with whatever theme colors that you have for fall and change it up, but these are the colors that I really liked putting together, so I hope you enjoyed this one.
Touch. So make a change for us. Make a change for us. I said take a chance on us. Take a chance on us.
This Dollar Tree sign, I'm gonna turn it over on the back side and we're gonna use this side instead. So I'm just gonna remove that twine from the top. And what I did was take another piece of scrapbook paper, and this one has like a faux shiplap look on it. All I'm gonna do is just trace it out with my pencil. That way I can glue it on here. And I always mark on the side that's not gonna show. So as you can see, I turned it over and I'm gonna be marking the white side with my pencil. Okay, so you could use more of the glue stick to glue this on, but this time I'm going to use this tacky glue from the Dollar Tree. So it's kind of like Mod Podge, I guess. I'm just going to put this on here, smear it out with my brush, and then I can place the scrap paper on. You can use another piece of scrap paper or any type of fabric you have. I have this old corduroy, if I'm pronouncing that right, skirt, and I just traced out a pumpkin on here and I'm going to cut it out. And now I'm just going to glue it on here with my hot glue gun. I want to decorate this and I just brought out a bunch of different things. So just bring out whatever you have on hand. First, I'm going to make a little bow with this Dollar Tree ribbon. It's real simple. Once I form that, you just pinch the center, and then I'm just going to grab some raffia and tie that in the center. So first, what I'm going to do is add this Spanish moss, and then I will glue the ribbon or the bow on top of that. Dollar Tree does sell a pack of Spanish moss, and I think this is such a cute idea to add first because it makes it look really rustic and farmhouse. And now I'm hot gluing some raffia in there. They do have raffia at Dollar Tree in packs. They also have some different colors of it too. Lastly, I'm adding these brown leaves in here. They are actually preserved from Hobby Lobby. I always like to buy the big bundle of preserved eucalyptus. They're so pretty. I use them all over my house. Fun and easy to make. I think if you love farmhouse rustic, then you will have a lot of fun making this one. I'm using this Dollar Tree Farm Fresh pumpkin sign to make a tray out of. So I'm just going to remove that tag and I'm going to paint the opposite side with my white chalk paint. I'm taking my ruler and I make 1-inch increments. And I'm gonna come in the opposite way and mark 1 inch all the way down too. All right, now that I got all of my squares, since this one is white on the background, I'm gonna mark all of the squares where it needs to be black. And of course I messed up in that little area, but I'll fix that later. All the black squares are done, so lastly we want to do the gray squares. Brought the green leaf from the back of the original picture on the pumpkin and brought it to the front. I should have waited anyways though, because I still need to paint the stem on. And again, I'm using my antique wax, but you can use brown paint to do the stem. Okay, lastly, I want to lift this up. So I'm going to use these wood stems. I'm going to grab 4 of them and glue them to the bottom. And these are from Dollar Tree. This would look so cute on like your coffee table or island in the kitchen or even your dining room table. And what I have on here is an amber vase with hops in it from Hobby Lobby, and then I also have a little hops stem, or actually a hops pick at the bottom laying there next to that Dollar Tree pumpkin. So I have this harvest blessing sign that I really don't need to do anything to. I'll show you why in a minute. And then with this pumpkin sign, I'm gonna cut out 2 pieces from there to use. So after removing 2 of the pieces, I am gonna use the back side, and I'm just gonna sand down that area where I removed the staples. I am going to just measure out 4 pieces. I'm gonna cut them out different heights because I'm gonna spell out fall. So you can just go with whatever length you want. I went outside to cut the pieces with my miter saw and box just because it makes a lot of sawdust. But I wanted to show you real quick what I use. I bought these 2 separate, but they do have a bundle that's only 10 bucks at Home Depot or Lowe's. So I'll link that below for y'all. Here are my 4 pieces. So what I'm gonna do is use some scrapbook paper, and I'll show you that in a second. You can use whatever you have on hand. If you have any scrapbook paper, or if you wanna paint these, you know, it's totally up to you. And I'm just gonna use this pattern. Very easily, I'm going to set the 4 pieces on top at a time, and I'm just going to trace it out and cut the scrapbook paper out. I'm just going to use a glue stick to glue these on, and this is such an easy way for me. Now, I would rather use this than Mod Podge, but if you want to seal the top, you totally can. Y'all remember that sign at the beginning that I said we weren't going to have to do anything to? Well, here it is. We're just going to hot glue these on there like this. Use whatever letters you want to spell out fall. I actually used my Cricut Joy to create this text from there. After adding the rest of the letters, I placed 2 apple picks from Michael's on each side, and super simple. I'm using this Dollar Tree jar, and I love it because it has that copper lid. And what we're gonna do is add these Dollar Tree pumpkin and leaf lights in there. Lastly, I'm gonna add more of this Dollar Tree ribbon. So I just wrap it around and then basically make a little bow like you would tie your shoes. Easily add this anywhere in your home to instantly give it fall vibes. So right here I just have 2 pumpkins. The little small one came in a bag from Dollar General, and then that creamy white one was from Hobby Lobby. 4 of these Dollar Tree wooden drawers. As you can see, they have shapes on one side. I'm gonna just remove the center of those and just use the outside part of these drawers. And what I'm gonna do is take my matte black paint. I'm gonna paint all 4 of these with this paint. Go ahead and sand them down for that distressed look. Use my Cricut Joy for these letters, and I'm spelling out fall on here. So now I'm going to show you how the blocks are going to be set up. I'm not going to glue them together, but you can if you want. At the top, like a pumpkin would have, with these Dollar Tree wood stems. For this next part, I'm adding some florals and greenery that I have from Hobby Lobby with my hot glue gun. I just sat them right here on my end table in the living room, right next to a Hobby Lobby amber vase with some hops in there. I really enjoyed making this one because it was very simple and it makes a big statement. Now, I specifically picked these Certificate of Achievement Dollar Tree frames for this, and I'll let y'all know why in a little bit. I'm gonna make it look like wood by first giving the frames 2 coats of my white chalk paint on both sides, and then that way I can use my antique wax over that. Now, you don't have to do that. You can buy frames that already look like wood or whatever color you want to use. These 2 Dollar Tree signs are the exact same length as the picture frames, and they're going to help us create the sign. So that is why I use those specific frames that I just showed y'all. I'm doing the same exact thing that I did to the frames. I'm going to give these a couple of coats, let them dry, and then it'll be a good base coat so I can run wax over it. If you don't have it, you can definitely use brown paint. So what I like to do is make sure I use a bristled brush when I paint the white on, and when that dries, I also use this bristled brush to paint on the wax. And the reason for that is that it just looks more like it's wood. If you use a sponge brush, I don't think it would look as good. To actually leave on the little hardware pieces for the glass, but I decided to go ahead and take that off because once I put the glass back into the frame, you will be able to see these hardware pieces through the glass, and I don't want it to show that, so I'm just going to use my hot glue to hold the glass in place. I'm going to add those 2 smaller signs, one on each side. I'm facing it this way, you know, with the open side facing the bottom. So this is what I'm talking about, how it fits perfectly on here. I'm going to just use my hot glue gun. You can use stronger glue like super glue or E6000. I actually tried some different 8x10 frames from the Dollar Tree and they were a little bit bigger. So this is what I mean when I say it fit perfectly on these specific frames. And now I'm going to add more hot glue and place the other glass frame on top. And that's pretty much it. I'm just gonna use some fairy lights that I have and I'm gonna turn them on and place them inside. That's why I left both of those sides open. So I'm setting that little black box in the back of it and then putting the lights inside of the lighted tray. Another thing you can do is if you don't want the bottom to show, you can just use like a poster board to cover it and then just the top frame, that glass part would show, if that makes sense. So of course you can style this many ways. One idea I had was to add these tea light candle holders from Dollar Tree. I picked up 4 of these because they are so pretty. I really like that green color. And then I added some Dollar Tree little tea lights. So one way you could do this is just stick them in there with the lights. I thought that looked really pretty as well. So this is the way I ended up leaving it. The lights, I left them completely on and not blinking or anything. And then I added all of these Dollar Tree items. The only things that are not Dollar Tree is the 2 stems, which are hops from Hobby Lobby, and then the big amber vase. But everything else is Dollar Tree. Is the fall sign, and I just have a Dollar Tree frame, and the pill and stick is kind of like a copper color, so I thought it'd be perfect for fall. That's from Dollar Tree as well. I'm removing everything so that I'm just left with the glass. Okay, so now I'm taking the pill and stick and I want to remove the center of it. So what I'm doing is just using 3 inches of the top of the pill and stick and 3 inches of the bottom, and I will cut the middle out with my scissors. And now I'm going to add it to the frame on top of the glass because it's already sticky on the opposite side. Lastly, I am using this decal that I made with my Cricut Joy. So for this one, I'm using this Dollar Tree tote bag. I love the color of it. It's like that creamy off-white color. We're gonna make a pumpkin out of it. So I got 3 of these tote bags so I can make 3 pumpkins. I just wanted some simple but cute pumpkins. So I'm removing everything off of this. Okay, so this part is really important. Since I have an opening already, I really don't need to do much. But what I do need to do is tie the bottom of this. So you want to leave that one side open, and the reason for that is because these 2 sides will stick out if I just start stuffing this pumpkin just like that, and it will not look right. So I need to tie this bottom part using any type of rubber bands that you have. So once that's done, we are going to turn it inside out, which will be the correct way of me stuffing it because I really don't want to see that printed part of this pumpkin. So I will face that toward the back wherever I have my pumpkins at. Now I'm going to go ahead and just use some stuffing from a pillow and just stuff this with as much as I want or as little as I want. Now I'm just going to grab the top part all together and take more rubber bands and shape it as well while I'm doing this. So kind of fluff out that stuffing in there and move it around to how you want your pumpkin to look, and then tie it off with those rubber bands. So there are so many different ways of making pumpkins. You can leave it just like this if you like this look. What I want to do is create those lines on the pumpkins so it's more shaped like one. What I did was grab some twine from Dollar Tree. I'm wrapping it around the stem first, and we're going to just tie a couple of knots. Now I'm going to grab the twine and wrap it all the way around, and make sure you pull tight enough so you can see those lines. Once I come around with it, I'm going to wrap it around the stem again, and then I come with it the opposite way and go around it again, just creating those lines. And I'm just going to go ahead and let you see the rest of it because it's better to just watch than me trying to explain it. So I wrap it so there's about 8 lines. Now that I have those 8 lines with the twine, I'm just wrapping it around a couple more times, and now I cut that end off and I'm going to tie a few knots. Here on my hutch, I really love the way these came out. They came out just how I wanted them to. Now you can decorate them a little more if you want color, maybe add some colorful leaves up there, just whatever you have in mind. You can even wrap the stem with more twine if you want that look. This Dollar Tree pumpkin, I'm going to use the back side, and I'm going to go ahead and remove that smaller pumpkin as well to use. I am going to apply this pumpkin spice felt, that's the name of it, from Walmart. It was about 27 cents, so you can get about 4 for $1. And I'm going to just trace that, and that way we can glue it to the top. I used the glue stick again to apply the felt, but realized that it really didn't stick well, so I ended up adding some hot glue. And then I applied the smaller pumpkin with hot glue. So I'm playing around with the colors, and I'm going to use this cream felt to add to the top where the stem would go. So I'm going to use one of these Dollar Tree ribbons to create a little bow to go on the stem.
Small, watch the clock ticking off the wall, but tonight I'm letting it go. Spend my coin for.
I'm using this Dollar Tree bucket that I got from there last year. I'm not going to need to do anything to it, so I'm just going to set it to the side. And what we're going to do is take some pumpkins. I have these pumpkin picks from Hobby Lobby, maybe for a couple years now. You can use any pumpkins that you have. What we're gonna do is take strips of this Dollar Tree hat, and I'll show you. You can just cut a small part on the side and it will just rip apart. We're gonna use this to give it more of a rustic look. Before gluing those strips on, I'm just going to remove the stem, and then once I'm done, we'll put that back. So I'm adding hot glue to this top part, putting one of those strips right there, and then wrapping it around to the opposite side and adding more hot glue.
lost outside of nowhere.
So you can just keep adding or don't add as much as I did, depending on the look you want. If you want it more sparse, you can do that. Or if you want it more covered, you can do that as well. I added 2 of those pumpkin picks that I made in that Dollar Tree bucket with 2 picks from Hobby Lobby. I thought this Dollar Tree sign was perfect because it already has the hard part done for me. It has the buffalo check already on there. Once that's open, I'm just going to move that to the side. And I'm also going to use this Dollar Tree piece. I only need the pumpkin part, so I took it off of that bottom wood piece. I have used this one for a few DIYs, so I'm not going to use the backside because there's like glue stuck to it. So I'm just going to remove the burlap piece on here and then sand off as much of that glitter as I can. Alright, so it's going to go on here like this. I just want to show you how it's going to look. So before putting that on there, gluing that on, I'm going to go ahead and paint it with my Waverly White chalk paint just to give it a good base coat. That way I can run some antique glaze over it to make it look like it's wood. So I have this pack of metal words from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to take one of them and I'm going to paint one of them black. So since this is galvanized, it would probably be a little bit easier to use a spray paint, but I ended up doing about 3 coats of this black paint. We're going to go ahead and take our bristled brush and run it over with this antique wax so it can look like it is made out of wood. Alright, and then we're just going to hot glue all of this together. I just have it next to a little Dollar Tree amber vase that I got last year with some hops in it. So two 8x10 canvases from Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by removing everything from the actual frame. I'm going to show you how I'm going to set it up. And also I need to see how wide I need to leave the bottom because I'm going to add some crab sticks. So they're going to be sitting up like this. And then I have these 2 really narrow vases from Dollar Tree. They're going to sit in the middle like that. And then I'm going to take some giant crab sticks from Walmart. Right here I was trying to figure out about how many I needed at the bottom and I ended up going with 3 of them. I'm going to paint all of them using my antique wax. As you can see, I have quite a few crab sticks out here. I only ended up using about 4 of them. So here's my antique wax and I'm just going to use a bristled brush to cover everything. These are going to go at the bottom and I cut them just enough to fit on the bottom of each frame. So one of them is going to be in the middle and I'll show you how to apply that one. So you see it sits on the bottom perfectly. I'm just going to add hot glue and glue that one down. Now that I have both attached to each frame at the bottom like that, to place the middle one in the center, I need to hold it in place from the bottom. So I have another small crab stick. You can grab any size that you have. I'm just using this one. I'm using 2 pieces for right now. So what I'm going to do is just hot glue both of these to the center like this. I cut off some of the crab sticks, so it left not even half an inch on each side. That way it would fit at the bottom. So I'm adding hot glue and now just attaching them. Now I'm using hot glue, but you could use wood glue if you want for a way better hold. I'm taking my ruler, I'm measuring the bottom to see how wide it is, and it's about 2.5 inches, so I'm going to make sure the top is the same. So to do that, I'm adding 2 of these pieces. They're a little bit over 3.5 inches. I'm going to add 1 on each side of this at the top, and that's how I'm going to make sure that it is 2.5 inches wide, just like the bottom, so it is straight and not slanted. I'm talking about the canvas frames. So after that, I just added my 2 narrow glass vases inside of there. Remember, they are from Dollar Tree. And then in there I have 2 orange carnations that I've had for a while. The maroon burgundy leaves are from Hobby Lobby. They're preserved. They last for a really long time and they're really cheap too. These 2 Dollar Tree items, I have the styrofoam pumpkin and I have this little crate from there that I already used for a previous DIY. That's why it's black already. I'm going to use paint to do buffalo check on the front of this crate. And it's not perfectly 6 inches, but I'm going to go ahead and mark 1 inch increments. So it looks like I have 18 squares. Now what we're going to do, since we already have the black in the background, all I need is a gray and white. So first I'm going to mark where the gray paint needs to go, and then we'll paint those squares. The center ones as well, so we're going to go ahead and paint those in too. The 3 squares in the center to be white. Onto the styrofoam pumpkin, I'm going to paint the whole thing white, and it needed about 2 coats. I decided to grab some of my antique glaze and make some lines where the indentions are on the pumpkin already. So once I do this part, then I'm going to take a bigger brush and I'll show you what I do with that next. I'm using a wet bristle brush for this next part to achieve this kind of antique looking pumpkin. So when I start rubbing on that antique glaze, it doesn't come on so strong and dark. I did paint the stem white too, but honestly I think I should have just put a different stem on it because it just looks weird. But yeah, I'm just gonna leave it like that. So I'm gonna glue the pumpkin on top with my hot glue gun, and I'm also gonna add some Spanish moss from Dollar Tree. I want to make a little bow to add to the pumpkin. So since this ribbon is real thick, but I want to use it because I like that burnt orange, I'm going to cut it in half and then I'll show you how I make the bow. For this one, you could even add a word to the front of the little crate too. That would look cute.
You feel so far away, though you're close. Would
For this first one, I'm making a sign out of this Dollar Tree platter. I want the trim of this to look like it's a wood trim. So in order to do that, I need to paint the trim white, which is going to be the rim of this platter. And I'm using this white chalk paint that I have. I'm going to give it a couple of coats and then let it dry. Now I have a good base for my antique wax. Once this is dry, I can go ahead and start brushing this on, and it's going to make the rim or the trim of this look like wood. Now you see that that's dry and it does look like a wooden trim. I love the way that turned out. So I'm going to use this scrapbook. This was from Michael's. So I'm going to use one of these sheets from here to go in the center of my sign. I need a template for my scrap paper. So I have just some craft paper that I'm going to use. Once I cut this out, then I can cut my scrapbook paper out and glue it to the center. So the easiest way for me to apply the scrapbook paper is just using a glue stick. Two of these giant craft sticks from Walmart so I can write out Happy Fall and put it on the sign. Now you can use whatever you have on hand. I'm just using these. I'm going to mark off about how long I want them to be, and then I'll trim them with my scissors. I'm going to paint them black with my matte black paint from Apple Barrel. I sanded them down for a more rustic look. What I did was take one of these burlap leaves from Dollar Tree. They came in a pack a while back. I know I've been having them for probably a couple years. I'm going to remove the stem part of it, and I know it's going to go to the right side of the sign, and I just thought this went well because of the scrapbook paper. It kind of matches it. Before gluing that down, I'm going to put Happy Fall like I had mentioned earlier, and I just used my Cricut Joy detail. I did have to cut down the leaf a little so it could fit on here. So I have this basket in my living room with a couple of books and pumpkins. I just sat the sign in there. I love how rustic this looks, and the wood or the faux wood trim. Scrapbook paper makes such a huge difference. That's why I love to have all different types during the holidays. Again, thank you for staying till the end. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next video.
Gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now.